The neutral space station hung silently in the black stretch of space, its metallic hull reflecting the glow of distant stars. Inside, the main conference hall buzzed with alien voices, each speaking in tones humans could barely interpret. Strange symbols floated in holographic displays, and alien representatives moved with careful grace, observing each other and the humans with curiosity. Lyra stood at the edge of the hall, her arms crossed. She had a reputation. Among humans, she was admired for her sharp mind and courage. Among aliens, she was often seen as brash and reckless, and today she felt every eye on her. The topic was the Intergalactic Union, a coalition of planets and species meant to strengthen peace and cooperation. But Lyra was against it. She believed humans were being asked to join a game where they would be pawns, not players. Her colleagues argued that alliances meant protection, shared knowledge, and trade opportunities. Lyra shook her head. Protection from whom? And at what cost? She would not be fooled. Lyra, called her supervisor, a calm man named Darius. You need to sit with the delegation. The session will begin. Lyra glanced at him. I'll be there, she said, though her tone carried doubt. She did not like sitting quietly while others made decisions for humanity. As she walked through the hall, she noticed alien delegates whispering. Some looked at her with irritation, others with a hint of curiosity. Lyra had learned that first impressions mattered, but she refused to hide her opinions to make others comfortable. Then she saw her Solara, the princess of the Valen Empire, entered the hall. Her appearance was mesmerizing. She moved with a slow, controlled grace. Her skin shimmered with soft patterns that seemed to ripple like liquid light. Her eyes, large and deep, held intelligence and caution. Many delegates straightened as she passed, bowing or gesturing politely. Lyra watched Solara carefully. She could see the calculated movements, the subtle authority, and Lyra felt no fear, only curiosity. The session began. Delegates took turns presenting arguments for and against the Union. Some spoke of shared technology, some of trade routes, others of defense. Lyra listened, nodding occasionally but mostly watching Solara. She noticed that when the princess spoke, even other aliens quieted. Every word was precise, diplomatic, and calm. When it was Lyra's turn, she stood. Her voice was firm, her words deliberate. I cannot support this union as it is proposed, she said. Humans are not weak, but the current plan does not protect us from exploitation. We cannot simply trust alien promises without guarantees. We need clear rules, and we need to ensure our people have a real voice. Murmurs filled the hall. Some aliens frowned. A few whispered to each other, clearly irritated. But Solara did not move. She watched Lyra with a cool gaze, her expression unreadable. Lyra speaks with passion, said one alien delegate, a tall creature with blue feathers. But humans do not yet understand the complexity of interstellar politics. You may risk isolation by resisting. Lyra raised her chin. Isolation is better than subjugation. Humans have survived against impossible odds before. We can do so again. But we will do it on our terms, not someone else's. The hall fell silent. Solara's eyes narrowed slightly. There was something in Lyra's words. Confidence, intelligence, fearlessness. She had not expected a human to speak so boldly. After the session, Lyra walked toward the terrace overlooking the nebula outside. She needed a moment to think. The vast purple and orange clouds of gas swirled in the distance, giving the station an otherworldly glow. As she walked, she overheard whispers. The human girl? She is reckless, one alien said. No one has spoken like that before. She may be dangerous, another replied. Her mind, it is not like the others. Lyra smiled faintly. Dangerous, maybe, but she preferred the word capable. The terrace doors slid open and she stepped out into the fresh, recycled air. The view was breathtaking. Stars stretched endlessly, and small ships moved like glowing fireflies against the darkness. She leaned against the railing, letting her thoughts drift. Footsteps approached. Lyra turned. Solara stepped onto the terrace alone. She did not bow, did not smile, just studied Lyra. You walk alone, Solara said in a soft, melodic voice. Most humans prefer company. I prefer honesty, Lyra replied, meeting the princess's gaze. Company is easy when it agrees with you. I prefer those who challenge me. Solara's eyes flicked with interest. Bold, unusual for a human. Your species is different from what I expected. Lyra shrugged. Expectations can be dangerous. They make you underestimate the people you should watch closely. Solara studied her, sensing a sharp mind and steady courage. But there was also defiance, a refusal to be controlled. She had seen many leaders in her time, but this human was unlike any other. Before they could continue, a sudden alarm echoed through the station. Red lights flashed. A booming voice announced, "Intruders detected. Security breach in Sector 7. Panic spread quickly. Delegates and staff rushed through the corridors. Lyra's heart raced, not with fear but with calculation. She had trained for emergencies like this. Solara moved toward the security command, but Lyra caught her arm. "You don't want to go in there blindly, follow me. Humans know how to act in danger." Solara hesitated, then nodded. She sensed Lyra's confidence was not empty. They ran through winding corridors, dodging falling debris as alarms blared. Outside the station's hull, small rogue ships appeared, firing at key systems. The attackers were clearly trying to destabilize the Union before it even began. Lyra quickly assessed the situation. "We need to secure the docking bay and protect the civilians." "You follow my lead." Solara froze for a moment, surprised by Lyra's decisiveness. Then she moved alongside her. Together, humans and a few willing aliens formed a protective line. Lyra shouted orders, directing personnel, improvising solutions, and thinking 10 steps ahead. She rerouted power to maintain shields, guided injured civilians to safe zones, and coordinated countermeasures. Even the seasoned alien officers were impressed. Solara watched, unable to look away. This human, small in stature compared to many aliens, had the presence of a commander. Her earlier doubts began to fade, replaced by awe. By the time reinforcements arrived, the rogue faction had been pushed back, though the threat was not entirely gone. Lyra's quick thinking had prevented catastrophic damage. The chaos subsided. Solara approached Lyra, her usual calm demeanor slightly shaken. "You are remarkable," she admitted. "I did not expect a human to manage this situation so efficiently." Lyra wiped sweat from her brow. "Humans survive by adapting. We act when others freeze. You should remember that." Solara's eyes lingered on her, the flicker of respect unmistakable. She had come expecting a human delegate to be cautious, maybe clever, but this was leadership, strength, fearless action. Lyra glanced at the princess. "We can debate politics later. Right now we survive." Solara nodded, still studying her. For the first time, she questioned what she thought she knew about humans. Perhaps they were more than allies. Perhaps they were something the galaxy had underestimated for too long. As the alarms faded and the station settled, Lyra returned to her position with the human delegation. The other aliens looked at her differently now, some wary, some intrigued. Solara stayed nearby, silent but attentive. The first ice of her caution toward humans had melted. She had seen courage, decisiveness, and intelligence that no one could ignore. And Lyra, she had proven that humans would not bow, would not hide, and would never be underestimated. The real challenge, the interstellar union, rogue factions, and political intrigue, was only beginning. But for the first time, humans had shown that they could stand firm and proud among the stars. The neutral space station had quieted after the attack, but the tension lingered in the air. Emergency crews moved quickly, repairing the damaged sections. The glowing nebula outside cast shifting shadows across the corridors, giving the station an eerie, otherworldly light. Lyra walked alone through the hallways, her mind still racing from the chaos of the earlier attack. Humans and aliens had worked together to protect civilians, but it was only a temporary victory. The rogue faction was still out there, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. She needed a break. She pushed open the doors to the diplomatic garden terrace, a place meant for calm discussion but now echoing with faint alarms in the distance. The garden stretched along one side of the station, full of alien plants glowing softly under artificial lights. Strange vine-like growths intertwined with luminescent flowers, and the air smelled faintly of sweet nectar mixed with metal. Lyra leaned against the railing, staring at the nebula. She loved the stars, the infinite expanse that made human struggles seem small yet meaningful. She thought about the meeting, about Solara, and about the delicate balance of trust humans had to maintain in this galaxy. "You are very comfortable alone," said a voice behind her. Lyra turned. Solara had stepped onto the terrace, her usual calm expression unreadable. The princess's eyes reflected the swirling nebula, deep and steady. "I could say the same about you," Lyra replied. "Most aliens prefer company, yet you are here alone." Solara moved closer, her hands folded in front of her. I observe, I learn. That is often better than speaking too soon. But I admit you are different, bold, fearless, perhaps reckless. Lyra smiled faintly. Reckless? Maybe. But sometimes reckless is the only way to survive. Solara's gaze lingered. She had watched humans for a long time, but Lyra's confidence was unusual. Most human diplomats were cautious, polite, and strategic. Lyra was all of that, yet fearless in a way that unsettled her. You led the evacuation today, Solara said finally, her voice soft but steady. You acted decisively when others froze. You are not what I expected, Lyra shrugged. Expectations are dangerous. They make people underestimate you. Humans survive by adapting, by acting when others hesitate. You saw that today? Solara considered her words. She had faced many leaders in her life, but none had commanded attention so effortlessly. None had shown such courage under pressure. She realized that humans were not weak, not naive, and not easily controlled. I suppose I underestimated humans, Solara admitted. I expected caution, hesitation, polite words. Instead you acted, and that is why I oppose the Union, Lyra said, her tone serious. We cannot trust others to act in our best interest. Humans must stand on our own strength first, then perhaps we can build trust. Solara studied her, sensing a sharp mind beneath the calm exterior. You are principled, strong, perhaps too strong to bend easily. Lyra laughed softly. Humans bend only when we choose to. Otherwise, we break before we bend. Before Solara could reply, the station shuddered. Another alarm blared. Lyra's heart leapt not with fear but anticipation. This was no random malfunction. Someone was testing the station again. They're back, Lyra said quietly. The rogue faction didn't give up. Solara's eyes widened slightly. Again? They are persistent, Lyra nodded. Dangerous, persistent. But so are humans. We survive. And we fight. She glanced at Solara. Stay close. You'll see. The two of them ran toward the command hub. Lyra led the way through narrow corridors, avoiding debris from earlier damage. The rogue ships were visible through observation windows now, smaller and faster than before. They fired sporadically at the station, trying to disable key systems. Those ships are not built for long battles, Lyra observed. They rely on speed and surprise. If we predict their moves, we can counter them. Solara followed, silent but attentive. She was studying Lyra, not just her strategy, but her mind, her confidence, her calmness in danger. The princess had expected humans to panic, to falter. Lyra proved her wrong. Reaching the command hub, Lyra quickly assessed the situation. We need to reroute the shield energy. Prioritize civilian zones and docking bays. Reinforce the main corridors with automated defense drones, and get the repair teams ready for immediate deployment. Solara watched closely, impressed. You do not hesitate, you command naturally. Lyra glanced at her. Command is nothing without action. You must act even when others doubt. Survival depends on it. Working together, they coordinated the station's defenses. Lyra directed humans and a few willing aliens, using both strategy and improvisation. When one drone malfunctioned, she reprogrammed it in seconds. When a power conduit shorted, she rerouted energy using spare lines. Solara helped by organizing her own people, but she followed Lyra's lead instead of giving orders. Time passed in tense bursts. The rogue faction launched another wave, but Lyra anticipated it. She had studied their patterns and predicted their attacks. Each move she made disrupted the enemy, saving lives and preventing critical damage. Solara could not hide her astonishment. She had thought humans were clever, yes, but Lyra's combination of courage, intelligence, and leadership was beyond anything she imagined. For the first time, she truly respected a human. Finally, the rogue ships retreated. They had not been destroyed, but their attack had failed. The station was battered but intact. Lyra breathed heavily, adrenaline still running through her veins. Solara approached her, her expression uncharacteristically warm. I underestimated you, she said. You have proven humans are more capable than I thought. Perhaps I judged too quickly. Lyra smiled faintly, brushing a lock of hair from her face. Judgment is easy. Understanding is harder. Today you learned what humans can do under pressure. Solara's eyes lingered on her, a quiet admiration growing. You are remarkable. Not just brave, but smart, resourceful, and fearless. I had not expected this from a human. Lyra's gaze met hers. Perhaps it is time the galaxy expected more from humans. For a moment, the chaos and alarms faded. The two stood side by side on the terrace, looking out at the nebula. A silent understanding passed between them. Humans were not pawns. Humans were not weak. Humans could survive, adapt, and lead, even in a galaxy full of uncertainty and danger. Solara's respect for Lyra grew, and with it, a hint of trust. The princess had come prepared to negotiate with politeness and caution, but she had found something unexpected. A human who could act decisively, who could think and fight in ways that impressed even the most experienced alien leaders. Lyra, in turn, saw the princess differently. Solara was not just a figurehead. She was intelligent, observant, and capable. Perhaps humans could work with her, and perhaps through courage and honesty, they could reshape the Union on terms that respected human strength. The terrace grew quiet as the station's emergency lights dimmed. Lyra and Solara stood together, silent but aware of the bond forming in those moments. The first step toward understanding and perhaps a new alliance had been taken, but even as calm returned, Lyra knew the rogue faction would strike again. They had only seen the beginning of human ingenuity and determination, and Solara, for her part, had begun to realize that humans were not creatures to underestimate. They were survivors, warriors, and thinkers all in one, and that realization would change everything. The neutral space station had survived the rogue faction's first two attacks, but the threat was far from over. Every corridor and control room still bore the marks of chaos: crumpled panels, sparks from exposed wiring, and the faint smell of overheated circuits. Outside, small ships hovered near the station, waiting for another chance to strike. Lyra moved through the command hub with calm efficiency. She had spent hours coordinating humans and willing aliens to repair damage, restore power, and secure critical systems. The adrenaline from the first attack had faded, replaced by focus. She knew the rogue faction would not wait long before testing the station again. Solara followed closely. She had spent much of the earlier attack observing Lyra, learning from her decisions. Now she wanted to understand more. "How do you think like this?" Solara asked quietly, not wanting to distract Lyra from her work. Lyra glanced at her with a faint smile. "Humans survive by expecting the unexpected. We watch patterns, anticipate moves, and act fast. Planning is important, but action saves lives." Solara's eyes reflected both awe and thoughtfulness. "Your mind, it is so precise. Yet it is not limited by caution. Most leaders would hesitate. You adapt instantly." Lyra shook her head. "Adaptation is survival. Hesitation gets people killed." She turned back to a console, rerouting power to a damaged shield generator. The lights flickered and hummed, but the system came back online. Suddenly, a new alert appeared on the main display. Rogue ships were moving faster, coordinating in a more complex attack pattern. They were no longer testing. They were serious. Lyra's heart beat faster, but her expression remained calm. "They've learned from their last failure," she said. "But so have we. Solara, we need to move civilians to the reinforced sectors and set up a defensive perimeter. I'll handle the drones and shields. You organize your people." Solara nodded. She felt a mix of fear and trust. Fear because the rogue faction was dangerous. Trust because Lyra had already proven herself. For the first time, the princess allowed herself to rely on a human's judgment. The attack began. Outside the station's hull, glowing ships darted like fireflies. They fired intermittently, targeting power conduits and docking bays. Alarms blared, and the corridor shook with occasional impacts. Lyra directed a group of humans and aliens to man the defense drones. She had studied the rogue faction's tactics during the previous attacks and predicted their moves. With each wave, she adjusted defenses in real time, moving drones, redirecting shields, and anticipating where the enemy would strike next. Solara watched, frozen at first by the intensity of the situation. Then she realized that Lyra's confidence was contagious. She began giving clear instructions to her own people, coordinating evacuation routes and medical aid, following Lyra's example. One of the rogue ships breached a secondary shield near the docking bay. Lyra immediately assessed the situation. "We need to close that gap. Activate the magnetic pulse field and direct the drones to intercept the ship before it reaches civilians." A group of alien engineers hesitated, unsure of the instructions. Lyra's tone sharpened, firm but calm. "Now, there is no time to debate." They obeyed. The magnetic pulse field surged, slowing the rogue ship. Drones swarmed it, disabling its engines before it could cause harm. Solara's people cheered quietly in relief. Solara turned to Lyra, eyes wide. You think and act faster than anyone I have seen. You are extraordinary. Lyra gave a short nod. Extraordinary, perhaps. But humans survive by acting when others hesitate. That is all. The rogue faction had another trick. They released small, fast-moving drones into the station's internal corridors. These drones were designed to sabotage life support and communication systems. Many aliens froze, unsure how to react, but Lyra moved immediately, calculating their path and directing teams to intercept. Using a combination of hand signals, rapid commands, and her knowledge of both human and alien technology, she guided the teams to disable the rogue drones before serious damage occurred. When one drone slipped past, she grabbed a tool and manually disabled it with a precise motion that surprised everyone. Solara could not hide her amazement. I have seen leaders, generals, and strategists. None are like you. None can adapt so quickly under pressure. Lyra wiped a thin layer of sweat from her brow. Adaptation is survival. That's how humans live. That's why we are here, standing among you, not behind you. The battle continued for hours. Lyra and Solara moved through corridors, coordinating teams, securing vital systems, and guiding civilians. Every decision Lyra made minimized casualties and protected the station's integrity. Even the most skeptical aliens began to recognize the human advantage, not in strength alone, but in ingenuity, courage, and leadership. Finally, the rogue faction's ships began to retreat. They had underestimated human coordination and the combined efforts of Lyra, Solara, and the station's defenders. The attack was not over, but the immediate threat had passed. Solara approached Lyra in the command hub. Her usual calm demeanor was replaced by a visible mix of admiration and respect. You have done something I never thought possible, she said. You led humans and aliens alike with precision and courage. I underestimated your species. Lyra looked at her, calm but firm. You learned what humans can do when it matters most. We act when others hesitate. That is why we survive. That is why we will survive again, no matter what comes. Solara nodded slowly. I see now that humans are not weak nor easily controlled. You are a force to be reckoned with. Lyra gave a faint smile. We are not just strong. We are capable, and we are not afraid to act when the galaxy doubts us. The princess studied her in silence for a moment. I will not forget this day. I will remember what you and your people can do. Perhaps humans have a larger role in this union than I thought. Lyra's eyes met hers. Perhaps, but only if the galaxy respects humans for who we are, not for what they want us to be. Outside, the nebula glowed quietly, casting shifting patterns of light across the station. For a brief moment, the chaos of battle seemed distant. Humans and aliens had survived together, but the rogue faction still lingered somewhere, waiting for another chance. Solara finally spoke again, her voice softer. You inspire confidence, Lyra. Even in the face of danger, you do not falter. You lead, Lyra shrugged lightly. I lead because I must. Others look for direction and someone has to provide it. Humans have always survived because we act. That is all there is to it. Solara's eyes reflected a mixture of thoughtfulness and quiet admiration. The ice of doubt that had separated her from humans had begun to melt. She had expected politeness, rules, and hesitation. Instead, she saw courage, intelligence, and leadership. A species she had underestimated now commanded her respect. For Lyra, the victory was not just in survival. It was in proving the value of humans, our ingenuity, our courage, and our ability to act decisively when the stakes were highest. She knew this was only the beginning. The rogue faction would strike again. The political struggles within the Union would continue, but humans had shown their true strength. Solara remained nearby, silently observing. She no longer saw humans as simple allies to be guided or contained. She saw them as equals, strategic, brave, and essential. And she knew that with leaders like Lyra, humanity could shape the future of the Union, not just follow it. As the station settled into quiet again, Lyra walked to the terrace. Solara followed. The nebula outside stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vast galaxy full of challenges and opportunities. You changed my perception today, Solara admitted, her voice calm but sincere. Humans are not what I expected. You are more. Far more. Lyra smiled faintly. I did not do it to change your perception. I did it to survive, and to show that humans do not bow or falter. That is all. Solara studied her for a long moment. Then quietly she said, Perhaps it is time the galaxy expected more from humans. Lyra's eyes met hers. Exactly. And it will, if we continue to act, to survive, and to lead. The two of them stood together, silent, watching the stars. Outside, the nebula shifted, and somewhere beyond the station, the rogue faction was regrouping. But humans had proven their advantage. They could adapt, they could act, and they could lead. And the galaxy would soon have to recognize that. For the first time, Solara truly understood that humans were not merely participants in the Union. They were a force the galaxy could not ignore. And Lyra, unshaken and confident, had become the symbol of that truth. The neutral space station had regained a fragile calm after the rogue faction's attacks. Systems were repaired, civilians were safe, and the corridors no longer echoed with the panic of earlier chaos. Yet the tension remained. Humans and aliens alike knew that peace was temporary, and that political tensions were rising as rapidly as the stars outside. Lyra moved through the council chamber, a space filled with alien delegates and human representatives. The room was vast, lined with glowing panels and floating symbols representing different planets. This was where serious decisions were made, where alliances were debated, and where futures were shaped. Solara stood near the front, her posture regal but slightly relaxed. She had spent the past hours observing Lyra's actions and thinking about the human strategy that had saved the station. For the first time, she felt admiration, not just for one human, but for the species that could survive, adapt, and lead in ways her own people sometimes could not. Lyra, Solara said quietly as she approached, I want you to advise the council today. Your actions during the attacks, they changed how many see humans. They will listen to you. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Advise the council? I'm a human diplomat, not a politician for other species. Solara smiled faintly. Politics are more than words. Leadership is more than titles. You have proven that humans can lead when it matters. The council needs to hear your voice. Lyra nodded, understanding the weight of the request. Very well. But I speak for survival, for fairness, and for the truth. Not for flattery or politics. Inside the council chamber, delegates whispered among themselves. The rogue faction's recent attack had made everyone nervous, but humans had demonstrated courage and ingenuity that could not be ignored. Lyra's presence alone shifted the mood. Some aliens watched her with curiosity, others with suspicion, but all were aware that she was now a key figure in the discussions. The council session began. The first speakers focused on security, technology sharing, and political responsibilities. Lyra listened carefully, taking mental notes. When her turn came, she stood, straight and confident. Honorable delegates, she began, her voice clear and firm. We have seen what can happen when threats are underestimated. Humans have survived against overwhelming odds because we act decisively, adapt quickly, and work together. We have proven that our species is not only capable but essential in shaping the future of this union. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some aliens nodded, others frowned, but all listened. Lyra continued. The Union cannot succeed if it relies solely on politeness or hope. It must recognize the strength of each member. Humans demand respect not because we seek power, but because we have the ability to lead, protect, and innovate. We ask for a voice that is equal to our contribution, and for safety that matches our courage. Solara watched closely. She was moved by Lyra's words, not because of flattery, but because of truth. Humans had faced danger and had acted. They had not hesitated, and they had saved lives. Lyra was a living example of that principle, and the council could see it clearly. One alien delegate, a tall, angular figure from the Ural system, stood to speak. While the human courage is commendable, we must consider experience. The humans may have acted well under specific circumstances, but they lack the understanding of galactic politics required for leadership in this council. Lyra did not flinch. She responded, her voice steady. Experience is valuable, but it is not the only measure of capability. Humans learn quickly, think critically, and adapt. Today's attacks prove that action, intelligence, and courage can achieve results faster than hesitation, fear, or overcautious planning. Leadership is not about time served. It is about results, and humans deliver results when it matters most. Solara's eyes softened. She could feel the shift. Even those who doubted humans could not ignore the truth in Lyra's words. The princess had spent her life learning diplomacy, observing leaders, and managing her people. Yet Lyra's combination of courage, intellect, and adaptability had altered the room's perception entirely. After the session, Lyra walked with Solara through the quieter corridors. The princess spoke in a low voice, thoughtful and serious. "I watched you today. Not just your words, but your actions. Humans, you are remarkable. I misjudged your species." Lyra glanced at her. "Many do. Humans are underestimated all the time. That does not stop us from proving our worth." Solara nodded. "You have changed more than my opinion. You have changed how others see humans. Even those who doubted us before now recognize our importance." Lyra's lips curved into a small smile. Recognition is only useful if it comes with respect and understanding. Today they saw humans act. Tomorrow they must learn to trust us, not out of fear but out of respect for our abilities. As they walked, a message arrived on Solara's communicator. It was from her advisors. Rogue factions were spreading rumors and propaganda against the Union, portraying humans as reckless and unpredictable. Solara frowned. "They are trying to undo everything. They want the Council to doubt us, to doubt humans." Lyra shook her head. "Let them. The truth is stronger than lies. We have already proven what humans can do. Actions matter more than words. If we continue to act decisively, their propaganda will fail." Solara considered this. She realized that trust between humans and aliens could only grow through action. Words alone would not be enough. She had already seen courage and intelligence in Lyra. Now it was time to extend that trust. They returned to the council chamber. Lyra advised on security measures, repair protocols, and future defensive strategies. Her ideas were clear, practical, and adaptable. Even the most skeptical aliens began to follow her guidance. By evening, the council had reached a tentative agreement. Humans would have a significant voice in the Union's planning and defense strategies. Solara publicly supported the proposal, standing beside Lyra in a show of trust and unity. The other delegates watched in surprise. A princess respected across multiple systems was openly backing a human. This act alone shifted the balance of opinion. Humans were no longer just participants, they were leaders. After the council, Solara led Lyra to a quiet observation deck. The nebula outside glowed with shifting colors reflecting in their eyes. The princess spoke, her voice quiet but sincere. "You have done more than I expected. You have shown that humans are not just capable, they are essential. I trust you, Lyra, and I will support humans in this union because of what I have seen today." Lyra nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Trust is earned through action. Humans have always known that, and we will continue to act even when others doubt us. Solara smiled faintly. Then perhaps the Union can succeed after all, not because of promises or diplomacy alone, but because humans and allies can act together when it matters most. Lyra looked out at the stars. She thought of the rogue faction still waiting beyond the station, the challenges of political negotiation, and the uncertainty of the galaxy. But she felt hope that humans could stand firm, prove their value, and shape the future alongside other civilizations. Solara's presence beside her was a reminder that alliances could be forged through trust, courage, and respect. For the first time, the princess had seen humans not as subjects of doubt or suspicion, but as equals, strong, capable, and unafraid. And Lyra knew that this was only the beginning. The Union would face challenges, the rogue faction would strike again, and the galaxy would continue to test them all. But humans had shown their advantage. They could lead, protect, and innovate when others faltered. Solara looked at Lyra and said quietly, "You are different from anyone I have met." "Humans are different from what I expected. I'm beginning to understand why the galaxy must respect you." Lyra's lips curved into a faint, confident smile. "Respect is earned, Solara, and humans will continue to earn it, one action at a time." The nebula outside swirled with colors that seemed to mirror the shifting dynamics within the council chamber. The rogue faction may have tested them, and political challenges remained. But humanity had stepped into its role, not as followers, but as equals and leaders. Solara's trust in Lyra marked a turning point. She would now advocate for humans, support their ideas, and help them secure their rightful place in the Union. And for Lyra, It was another step toward proving that humans were not just survivors. They were a force to be recognized and respected in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. The stars stretched endlessly, a reminder that the galaxy was vast, full of both danger and opportunity. Humans had shown their strength, and they would continue to do so. The future of the Union and humanity's role within it was only beginning to take shape. The neutral space station gleamed under the light of distant stars, its repaired panels and smooth corridors reflecting calm after weeks of chaos. The rogue faction had retreated for now, but the threat lingered in the minds of humans and aliens alike. Every eye in the galaxy seemed to watch the station, waiting to see what would happen next. Lyra stood in the main council chamber, reviewing the latest reports. Systems were fully restored, defensive protocols strengthened, and civilians were safe. Humans had proven their value in battle and strategy, but the Union's success required more than survival. It required diplomacy, leadership, and trust. Solara approached, her posture relaxed but her presence commanding. "Lyra," she said softly, "the council convenes today for the final vote. Your guidance has changed opinions, but the decision will decide the future of the Union. Are you ready?" Lyra nodded. "I am ready. Humans act when it matters. Today will be no different." The chamber was vast, filled with delegates from dozens of species. Some were still wary of humans, others cautious, but all had observed the recent events and knew that humans had proven themselves. Lyra felt the weight of expectation, yet she did not falter. Courage was not a feeling, it was action. The session began. Aliens spoke of treaties, defense strategies, trade agreements, and the importance of unity. Many praised the bravery of humans during the rogue attacks, but some still voiced doubt. Would humans maintain their role, or would their boldness lead to conflict? Lyra rose to speak. Her voice echoed clearly in the chamber, firm but calm. "Honorable delegates," she began, "we have faced threats together and seen the results of hesitation and fear. Humans acted decisively when danger arose. We protected civilians, defended this station, and ensured the survival of multiple species. Leadership is not just about titles, it is about results. Humans have shown that we can lead, protect, and innovate. We ask only for a place where our voice is respected, and our actions are valued equally with others. The Union will succeed when it respects the strength and capabilities of all members, including humans." Murmurs ran through the room. Some aliens nodded, others exchanged glances, but all listened. Solara watched Lyra, her eyes reflecting admiration and trust. For the first time, she felt certain that humanity was a vital part of the galaxy's future. One delegate, a representative from the Draxian system, stood to speak. "The humans' courage is impressive, yet we must consider consistency. Can they maintain this level of leadership in the long term?" Lyra answered without hesitation. "Consistency comes from principle. Humans act based on values, adaptation, courage, and responsibility. We do not falter because we follow instinct alone. We plan, we act, and we learn. That is why humans will continue to be a force the galaxy can rely upon." Solara stepped forward, her voice calm but powerful. "I stand with humans. I have observed them firsthand, and I have seen their courage and intelligence. They are not reckless as some claim. They are capable, reliable, and essential. I will support humans in the council because they have proven their value." The chamber fell silent. A princess respected across multiple systems was publicly backing a human. The weight of her support shifted opinions immediately. Delegates whispered among themselves, reassessing what they had assumed about humans. The council voted. Systems and procedures were formally agreed upon. Humans were given a prominent role in the Union, not just as participants but as leaders in defense, strategy, and diplomacy. Lyra's influence, combined with Solara's support, had ensured that humanity's voice would be respected. After the vote, Lyra walked to the observation deck overlooking the nebula. Solara joined her, quiet and thoughtful. The stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vast opportunities and challenges ahead. "You changed the council's mind," Solara said softly. "Not just with words, but with actions. Humans have earned a place of respect." Lyra looked at her. "Humans always survive, Solara, but earning respect is different. Today the galaxy saw what we can do. Tomorrow we must continue to prove it." Solara nodded. "I trust you, Lyra. You are not just a human leader, you are a symbol of what your species can achieve." I will stand with you and I will ensure that humans are recognized as equals. Lyra smiled faintly. Trust is earned through action. Humans will continue to earn it, one step at a time. The quiet of the observation deck was broken by an alert. Rogue faction scouts had been detected near a nearby system. Lyra's expression hardened, not with fear but with determination. The battle was not over, but now humans and allies were prepared. Solara placed a hand lightly on Lyra's shoulder. You do not hesitate even when danger is near. I admire that, Lyra nodded. Humans act when others hesitate. That is why we survive, and that is why we will continue to lead, protect, and fight when necessary. Together, they watched the rogue scouts move in the distance. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and opportunities. But humanity had proven its advantage: courage, intelligence, adaptability, and leadership. Back in the council chamber, delegates were discussing new strategies for the Union. Plans for joint defense, trade networks, and diplomatic outreach were being finalized. Humans were taking a leading role, offering ideas and solutions that combined practical experience with bold innovation. Solara remained by Lyra's side throughout, supporting her recommendations and adding her own perspective. Their collaboration became a symbol of what was possible when humans and aliens worked together in trust and respect. Hours later, when the council adjourned, Lyra and Solara stood outside the chamber looking at the stars. The rogue faction might strike again and challenges remained, but humanity's role in the galaxy had been solidified. Humans were no longer seen as inexperienced or secondary. They were equals, leaders, and protectors. Solara broke the silence. You have shown the galaxy the strength of humans. I am grateful to have witnessed it firsthand. Perhaps in time others will come to trust and respect you as I do. Lyra's eyes met hers. Humans have always survived. Now the galaxy knows it too, and we will continue to act, to lead, and to protect, not for recognition but because it is the right thing to do. Solara smiled faintly, a rare and genuine warmth in her expression. Then let us continue together. Humans and allies working as equals. I will stand with you, Lyra nodded. Agreed. Together we will face whatever the galaxy throws at us, and we will show that humans are not to be underestimated. As they stood on the observation deck, the stars stretched endlessly before them. The nebula glowed in shifting colors, reflecting the promise of the future. Humans had proven themselves capable, respected, and essential. Their courage, intelligence, and leadership had reshaped the Union. And for Lyra and Solara, a bond of trust and respect had formed, one that would influence not only the Union but the future of the galaxy itself. The rogue faction's threats lingered, but humanity's presence was now undeniable. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when faced with danger, uncertainty, and political challenges. They had adapted, survived, and led. Lyra felt a quiet satisfaction. The station was safe, the council united, and humans had their rightful place. But she knew that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of new threats and opportunities, and humans would face them all with courage, intelligence, and determination. Solara looked at her once more. Humans are extraordinary, she said softly. I underestimated you, and I was wrong. You are a force to be respected. Lyra smiled, feeling the weight of truth in her words. Respect is earned, Solara. Humans will continue to earn it in every action we take, and the galaxy will have no choice but to see our value. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the observation deck. Humanity had proven itself and the Union had been forged stronger than ever. Together, humans and allies would face the challenges ahead, confident in their abilities and united in purpose. For the first time, the galaxy truly understood that humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, innovators, and an unshakable force for the future. And so, as the stars shimmered and the nebula glowed, the neutral space station stood as a symbol of courage, unity, and the undeniable power of humanity.